Just wanted to start off this video by saying how happy, how happy I am for Trae Young. Maybe I'll send him some flowers. Maybe write him a card. Maybe. And just, yay, Trae Young. All right, guys, 5-game slate. Real quick, though, let's go over my lineup here from tonight. And let me just tell you something right now. With most nights, as you know, 95% of the slates, I'm in incredible pain. I swapped off the nuts to no one's surprise. If you watch these YouTube videos, you know I make a late swap. It's the wrong one. But here is the thing. The Kings, bro. So, okay, this is what I had Tyus Jones and Damian Jones instead of Maladon and Wiggins. And then, so we get news, Alex Len's ruled out. And then 30 minutes later, he's in. I'm just like, how is that possible? So, I pivoted off Damian Jones because I was worried about his minutes with Alex Len back. Damian Jones went for 52 fantasy points. And I swapped from Tyus to Maladon once we got the Thunder Trey Man news. But here's the thing, honestly. I'm in incredible pain because I would have 344. I would be taking down my contest, winning like $3,000 total. So, as you know, right? Never, ever have I ever made a correct pivot. Never. It always goes wrong. But I'm going to be honest with myself. I will continue to make that pivot. I think I made the correct play, even though it didn't work out, right? When we got the Alex Len ruled in news, obviously Damian Jones' minutes were way more in question. And then once Trey Mann got ruled out, we knew Maladon was going to play huge minutes. So, sure, Tyus Jones and Damian Jones going absolutely off is, like someone putting a knife in my chest and twisting it. It hurts really, really, really bad. And that, takedown that I would have had. But, again, never make the correct pivot. If I'm being honest, though, I'll make that pivot again, right? I think it was the correct play. Just all pain like it usually is. But yeah, I had a core of Kevin Porter Jr., who's extremely low owned, only 27%. Absolute must if you wanted to win big money tonight was Kevin Porter Jr. A core was Kevin Porter Jr., Davion Mitchell, KJ Martin. Shoot Bruno Fernando shoot him to the moon. We're really playing Bruno Fernando. The reason I was playing KJ Martin obviously was I thought he was going to get that backup 5 run. Dust off Bruno Fernando. And then Theo Maladon. So that was my core. Again, it was looking like it would be a really solid night for a lot of members. Patrick, congrats. I saw you were in second. But it looks like you're going to have, you said your biggest night of the season in the Discord. Love to hear it. But yeah, I'm in pain from that play. Again, though, I think it was the correct move, knowing the circumstances. If Alex Len just sits out, I'm taken down. It hurts, and it hurts really bad. The reason, I liked my build so much because I had the Tyus Jones, DeJounte Murray pairing, right? And I was hammering home, stacking the Sacramento and Houston game. So it's all pain once again. And now, min cash probably, maybe. It's just an average night, but it could have been a massive night. So that is it for the look back, guys. Once again, we're all really happy for Trae Young, who had more points in the first quarter tonight than when I played him last slate at extremely low ownership and they scored 132 points. He had more points in the first quarter. All right, so let's move on to this 5-game slate, guys. I'm ready to move on and talk about this one. So Philadelphia and Detroit's the first game. Obviously, this game does have a little bit of blowout risk. On the Philadelphia side, both Embiid and Harden have a massive ceiling if the game stay competitive. I will say Detroit's been playing better of late, but Embiid, he's playing huge. He played 39 minutes last game. I mentioned that that game was such a big game that I thought, both stars' minutes would get ramped up, and they did. We saw 39 minutes from Embiid. I think we saw close to 40 from Giannis, but it's smash matchup here, right? Stewart or Olynyk or whoever they're trying to throw on him, Embiid should be able to feast. So I think he looked really good here. And Harden, a little bit of a lower floor, but does have a ceiling. So the main two guys here, Philadelphia, look good. I think Embiid looks a little bit safer. Tobias just randomly went off. Good for him. Almost a triple-double. I don't know where that came from. Obviously, he can still have a ceiling. He's knocking down his shots, but don't expect 50 again from Tobias. So him and Maxey are both secondary plays for me. Like, they're going to play big minutes, but they're going to defer offensively to both Harden and Embiid. The rest of Philadelphia, I don't know if I can stomach it in a 5-game slate. Niang probably sees 15 or so minutes. DeAndre Jordan will play that backup 5. I don't think it's necessary to play him, though, in the slate. Thibault, good defender, probably low 20s minutes. Again, I don't think we have to go there. The dust of Danny Green will be in the rotation. It is Danny Green, though, so, I don't think I can go to him either. Shake Milton might play mid-teens minutes. Again, I just don't think I can get to any Philadelphia value. Now, on Detroit side, a little bit of a different story here. So, no Grant, no Diallo, possibly no Corey Joseph. We'll keep an eye on that. If Corey Joseph misses, I would guess either Killian Hayes or Frank Jackson move in the starting lineup. So we'll monitor that one. But Cade Cunningham, 8.7K. I don't mind him as a contrarian play. Went for 48 fantasy points last game against Brooklyn. A little bit of a tougher spot here, but for tournaments, I think it's fine. He does have shooting guard, small forward eligibility, which is nice. Don't know if I can get to Sadiq Bey or Marvin Bagley. Marvin Bagley was massive chalk. I told you, right? Chalk Marvin Bagley. It always goes so well for everyone. But those two, it's tough to get to either. Stewart, he does have a ceiling, but he's going up against Embiid and very prone to foul trouble. So, I'm pretty worried about Stewart here. I do think Killian Hayes is solid value. If they get blown out, he's probably playing in the blowout. In a competitive game, he's probably closing too. So there's not a lot of risk with Killian Hayes. Plus, he's cheap. And he's gone for 30-plus now in 3 of the last 4. So I think Killian Hayes is a pretty solid value play. I will mention Kelly Olynyk is kind of a sneaky value. So if Isaiah Stewart gets in foul trouble, it's probably Kelly Olynyk coming in. And there's a decent chance Stewart does get in foul trouble. Olynyk does have power forward eligibility, which is nice. And he'll be productive when he's on the court. So I'm intrigued about Kelly Olynyk at only 3.5K for value as a contrarian play. Corey Joseph, if he plays, sure. If he misses, though, then either Frank Jackson or Killian Hayes would start. Both would probably get a little bit of a minutes bump. Frank Jackson probably getting the biggest minutes bump. He's been hovering around 15 minutes, so he could be a potential value there if Corey Joseph plays. Whatever Braxton Key is, that's not a real person. He's been in the rotation, though, and been playing about 15 minutes. If the game blows out, he probably plays a little bit more as well. Milwaukee, Brooklyn. So this should be a great game. Rematch there of the Eastern Conference playoffs. Big game here for the East. I think Giannis looks great, 11-8. He played 38 minutes. I think we get close to that again. You're in a big game for seeding purposes. So I really like Giannis. I think he should be able to feast against this Nets defense. Drew and Milton are both fine. Neither priorities, though. I don't think I can get to Bobby Portis off the bench. The minutes have been ticking down on him. Brook Lopez at 3.9 feels a little bit too cheap to me. 29 minutes last game. I think he plays close to 30 in a competitive game. So I think Lopez, pretty safe play. Not a guy that has a super high ceiling. Every once in a while, you get that game where he has 4 or 5 blocks. But yeah, I think Lopez, is a pretty good value. Grayson Allen, they moved to the bench last game. Still saw 24 minutes. I think mid-20s minutes. Makes him playable. Does have a ceiling. 3 games ago, we know that ceiling is there. But again, he does have to hit shots to get value. Wesley Matthews started. It's Wes Matthews. It's Wes Matthews, though, so I don't know if I can pull the trigger there. Pat Connaughton will probably be in the rotation. I guess he's fine in around 20 minutes. All right, on the Brooklyn side, so both KD, Kyrie in play. KD has a little bit of a higher floor, in my opinion. Both should play about 40 minutes in a competitive game. This is a big game for the Nets, so I think they play huge minutes. Again, Kyrie, lower floor, does have the ceiling, though, right? He can break a slate, so both the main Nets guys are in play. I think KD is much safer than Kyrie. And then Drummond, I will mention, the minutes have been ticking up on him. 31 and 28 over the last couple games. I'm not sure if this is going to continue, But if it does, he is underpriced at 6K. So I like Drummond if we get similar minutes the last couple games. I will mention, though, there's no guarantee of that. So you do have to factor that in with Drummond. Aldridge has not been playing yet. They've been going to Claxton for what it's worth as the backup 5. Claxton at 4-1. Don't think we have to go there in this slate. As far as like this grouping of like Bruce Brown, Curry, and Dragic, I think my favorite probably is Dragic, just because he'll do some ball handling, probably play 25 plus minutes. So I think Dragic my favorite of that like grouping of Brown, Curry, and Dragic. And I don't think I get to anyone else on the Nets. Cleveland and Atlanta. So Darius Garland, 10-1. Good matchup here. Should play big minutes. I don't love the price point, but again, he's not do everything for the team. So I think he's a decent contrarian play. Markkanen at 6'4", we probably see low to mid 30s minutes from him, more of a secondary option. Kevin Love at 5'9", surprisingly didn't start. They just don't want to start him. Also, the minutes have been a little bit shaky on him recently. He does have a ceiling, but also, the minutes are not. He could play like 20 minutes, and I wouldn't be surprised. So I think Love's a good tournament play on this one. Karis LeVert, we finally saw a big game from him playing alongside Garland. That was good to see. He also saw 38 minutes. Now, we do have to, again, we're not going to get 46 again, most likely from LeVert. So probably an outlier game from him. But I do think he's a pretty safe play, assuming he's going to continue to play mid-30s minutes. So LeVert, pretty safe option in my opinion. Okoro, he'll play big minutes. It's Isaac Okoro, though, so, it's going to feel gross if you play him. It's not going to feel good. And then Moses Brown played 21 minutes. I thought 15 to 20 when people asked him about his minutes on Patreon. So 21, again, I wasn't expecting huge minutes. He's not a bad point per minute guy, so if he starts again, sure, you can use him. I don't expect huge minutes. But if we get around 20 minutes again for him, then yeah, I think he's a decent value play on the slate. On the Atlanta side, so Trae Young, again, we are all super, super happy for him. Like I said, low ownership. I play him here. 14 points when they score 132. I fade. He has 30 at halftime. And again, this is not a one-night thing. This has been all year with Trae Young. Never, never, never have I gotten a good game. Every game I get, can't hit a shot. And when I do fade, like clockwork, he smashes. So Trae, at this price point, I think is a decent GPP play. Capella, I think probably your safest bet. He did get in a little bit of foul trouble last game, only played 20 minutes, plus the blowout, but I think he would probably go back to around 30 minutes, which makes him a decent player in the mid-range. But Bogdanovich off the bench has been playing pretty well. Minutes in a competitive game, we should see around 30. So I do think he's actually a solid option there off the bench. Gallinari's missed last couple games. We'll keep an eye on if he plays in this game. If he doesn't, and with more minutes for Herder and Hunter, both are kind of just like neutral plays for me. I would expect around 30 minutes from each. They're kind of just there. TLC's minutes went down with Hunter playing. He went back down to 23, but he is only 3.1K, so sure, he's playable. DeLon Wright's minutes also went down as well a bit with Hunter playing the last one. Okongwu's only 3.4K. He's going to play the backup 5. Again, he got extended last game because of the blowout, plus he'll Capella foul trouble. More often than not, he's going to play like 18 or so minutes, which makes him playable on a small slate at only 3.4K. So do some interest in Okongwu. We'll see what other value opens up. Clippers and Bulls. So how about Ty Lue? Yeah, his quote, "There is no way Paul George is playing over 30 minutes in his first game back. No way. Not under my watch." 31 minutes for Paul George. Isn't that something? Isn't that something? We'll keep an eye on the minutes limit, but whatever Ty Lue says it is, bump him up like 5 minutes. So, yeah, like the upset on Paul George. We'll see about the minutes. Reggie Jackson. How about that quote? He's going to be capped at 32 minutes the rest of the season. 37 minutes. Hartenstein and Zubac will split 7 minutes. Hartenstein played a little bit more last game. Both are fair options. If everyone's going to play Hartenstein, I think Zubac would be a decent GPP pivot. I know the minutes have been a little bit riskier in Zubac, but he still has a ceiling. So both the centers playable with Zubac and Hartenstein. I do think Hartenstein gets a lot more ownership. The rest of the Clippers is hard with Paul George back to feel good about anyone. And the rotation, I just don't know what's going to happen. So, this grouping of, the closing lineup is going to be one of the centers, Paul George and Reggie Jackson. That I know. The other two guys, good luck trying to figure it out. So this grouping of Mann and Morris and Covington and Kennard and Batum, 2 of those 5 are going to be in the closing lineup with a big Paul George and Reggie Jackson. Don't know which it is. So They all look very similar to me. I don't have any strong takes here. I would be lying to you if I was like, oh my gosh, I really like Robert Covington at 4-2. No, I would be lying if I said that. So that grouping of guys, if you want to take a shot at one of them, sure. I don't know who's going to close. I think it's going to be a hot hand situation there for the Clippers. On the Bulls side, a little bit easier to talk about. They run a tight rotation. We know what the minute's going to be. Do like one of the few coaches I like, Billy Donovan, right? Good coach. More coaches need to run rotations like him. Billy Donovan, we like Billy Donovan. DeRozan, Vooch, LaVine. In a competitive game, all three should play 35-plus minutes. DeRozan has been the most consistent this year. He went for 50 last game, 50-plus last couple of games. Vucevic, kind of up, kind of down. He had a big game last game, though. And LaVine's been struggling a little bit of late, so I do think he'll be the lowest owner of the bunch. Also, again, been dealing with knee soreness, but I think for tournaments, he is an appealing play because the ceiling is still there. And with the main three here for the Bulls, as I always say, it's hard to try to figure out who's going to have the big game on a night-to-night basis. So, like, for example, on this slate tomorrow, if everyone's going to play DeMar DeRozan, or like a good chunk of the field's going to play DeMar DeRozan, I'm going to play Zach LaVine in tournaments. Sure, Zach LaVine is less likely to succeed, but if everyone's going to be on DeRozan, I'm just going to go to LaVine at a fraction of the ownership. So that's just kind of my take on the Bulls. If I'm going to play one of the big three, I'm probably going to go to whoever I think is the lowest owned. As far as the rest of the Bulls go, Caruso's at 5K. He should play around 30 minutes. I think he's a fair play, but probably not necessary on the slate. Kobe White minutes are kind of all over the place. I think he's playable in tournaments, but obviously a high-risk play. Iowa 4-1's been starting. Should see around 30 minutes. Again, it's just kind of fine. So the secondary guards, Caruso, Kobe White, and Io just look okay. And then the wings, like Javonte Green, Patrick Williams, don't know if I can get to either. They've really been taking it easy in Patrick Williams' minutes. I guess he did play 25 last game. So if you think he plays 25 again, you can go to him, but it's not something I feel great about. And then Tristan Thompson is playing the backup 5. Like, he's going to play somewhere around 12 to 15 minutes, most likely. I think it's playable on a small slate. I do think the upside is a little bit higher in Okongwu, though, if you're looking to like a backup center play in a small slate. I think the upside's a little bit higher in a guy like Okongwu. And finally, Lakers, Jazz, late night hammer. It had to be this one. 2 hours after lock, LeBron out, Davis doubtful, Wendy Gabriel questionable. The Lakers ran a 13-man rotation last game. I mean, I have a hard time seeing the Lakers keep this game competitive. I know Utah's been struggling a little bit of late, but the Lakers are awful. They are awful. So Westbrook in play for tournaments at this price point, though, he's riskier than some other Lakers because he's a guy that, he needs the minutes to be there at this price point. I do think Monk is still playable at 5-5. He had a really good game last game. They need scoring, and Monk's going to be, one of their main scorers. So I still have some interest in Monk. Like, I think he can put up a serviceable score to blow out. So still some interest in him. Melo, well, he barely played last game. But we've seen other games with LeBron's out where he plays like over 30 minutes. So we'll see what Frank Vogel does. If the game stays competitive, they're probably going to keep a tight rotation. If they get absolutely destroyed, you're probably going to see a similar situation to last game where they just empty the bench. So, Westbrook, Monk, and Melo should kind of lead this offense. All three in play for tournaments. Dwight Howard, so this is a game I could see him playing more, right? We talked about a lot how I was worried about the minutes with Dallas. He got abused in the pick and roll. Well, now you get a traditional center out there at all times with Rudy Gobert and with Greg Monroe. And again, the Jazz said they want to play a traditional center out there at all times. So with that being said, especially if Wendy Gabriel is out, they don't really have any other bigs. So, I would be much more confident in Dwight on a slate like this than the previous slate. Talon Horton-Tucker, again, I played him a low ownership, 3 fouls in 5 minutes. But he's a guy in a competitive game probably sees 20 to 25 minutes. If the game blows out, maybe a little bit more. And there's a good chance this game does blow out. So, he's a guy that you could play for the blowout and look to THT. Stanley Johnson, also relatively safe. He should be in the main rotation. He probably starts, and he also played in the blowout. So, I think he's a pretty safe play. It's going to be interesting to see what the ownership is, though, because he was pretty popular last slate. The reason he crushed was because of the blowout, right? the first quarter and a half, I think Stanley Johnson had 2 fantasy points. So it's going to be interesting to see what the ownership, right, is. If a lot of the field plays Stanley Johnson tomorrow, I'm okay fading. Even though I do think he's pretty safe because he'll play in a competitive game and he'll play in the blowout most likely. Austin Reeves, another one of those guys that probably plays, in a competitive game or even a blowout. He's playable at 3-7. They dusted off Augustine. He was in the rotation. They dusted off Trevor Ariza and played him. Bazemore got minutes. Avery Bradley got minutes. So, this is just going to be a mess. Like I said, I think if the game stays competitive, they'll run a tighter rotation. If they're down by 30, you're seeing Bazemore in the game. You're seeing Ariza in the game. You're seeing just the end of the bench in the game. So we'll see what they do the starting lineup. But, yeah, it's going to be a headache with the Lakers. On the Jazz side, a little bit more simple. So in a competitive game, the main guys all look good. Mitchell, Gobert, Clarkson, Conley all have a ceiling if Bogdanovic is out. Bogdanovic, House, both questionable. It's a phenomenal matchup. The question is, can the Lakers keep it close? So I like all the main guys, but again, you have to factor in, there's a decent chance this game blows out. Now, Whiteside is still out. So in a game that has potential to blow out, we have the dust, but also a good point per minute guy in Greg Monroe that I'm a little bit intrigued by at 3.5K. Reason being is, he's going to be in the rotation, probably play 12 to 15 minutes in competitive game. If the game blows out and he gets a lot of that garbage time run, he can have a good game. So, I think Monroe's kind of a sneaky value. Hernan Gomez been starting last few games with Donovich and House out. If they're both out again, sure, you can look to Hernan Gomez. Him and Rudy Gay both probably see around 20 minutes or so. Gay saw 16. Hernan Gomez saw a little more, 28 last game. But yeah, that is going to do it for the Jazz, and that's going to wrap it up for the video as well, guys. So again, if you enjoy the content, just make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell. It really does help me out. Make sure to check out the Win or Tilt show tomorrow, guys. We'll be going over some prize picks plays, doing some giveaways if we do hit coffee giveaways for Roast Umber. So thanks again, guys. Enjoy the rest of your night, and I'll see you all in the next video.